sweet J, a little aloha in our day. Spread a little aloha around the world at breakfast with Bob.
Thank you, Poncho Man. Welcome back, everybody. Breakfast with Bob, our Not Quite Kona edition. My name is Bob Babbitt. We are brought to you by Master Spas, as fuels go longer, Hoka Let's Fly, DeBoer Wetsuits, Premium Plus Sports, and of course, our Challenged Athletes Foundation. Our first 30 years, we've now raised $178 million, sent out over 48,000 grants to challenge athletes, all 50 states, 73 countries, 105 different sports. And actually, a young man will be helping us with a CAF fundraiser next week at Purple Patch on June 6th, Evening of Champions. T100 CAF Purple Patch, Jan Frodeno, Ashleigh Gentle, and two-time Olympic gold medalist, Mr. Alistair Brownlee joins us. Alistair, how the heck are you doing?
I'm really good, thank you, Bob. How are you?
I am spectacular. Every time I look back at your results over the years, and the two-time Olympic gold is amazing. But when I see 78 World Tri starts, 50 podiums, 36 wins, I mean, 2/3 of the time you're on the podium, 50% of the time you're winning. When did you start feeling that you could dominate at that series?
I'm not sure, and it feels like a long time ago now, to be honest, but it happened fast. Slowly and then all at once, whatever that famous saying is. And I think it's like going bankrupt, isn't it? That Ernest Hemingway famously said. But yeah, a lot of hard work over a long period of time. And then the 2008 Olympic Games, I was a 20-year-old and was winning, and then ended up finishing 12th. But what that kind of showed me, kind of personally, I was like, wow, I was there for 90% of the race at the front with the best guys in the world. If I can find that last 10%, I can be one of those. And then the year after that, 2009, is when the World Series started. And I turned up at the first race that year in Madrid and won for the first time. And I think the first 2-3 races, I didn't quite believe it. But by the end of that season, I think I'd won every race that I'd done in the World Series, won the World Series. And yeah, from then on, from a long period of time, I mean, I was a firm favourite in my own head, at least, for quite a lot of years.
Well, it was fascinating for most of us guys who were primarily covering Ironman stuff, and people who were looking at the ITU racing, people looked at it and said, okay, they swim really fast, then they ride around in circles, and then they run really fast, right? The swimmers get out, stay together, ride together, and then someone runs away. You changed that. You changed that because the bike used to be I'm not going to say passive, but it became, you had to be a bike rider. You had to be able to ride a criterium style bike race. And I heard the stories from Chris McCormick of Alistair was running the peloton. Like, if you weren't taking a pull, he was screaming at you going, take a pull or get the F out of here. So you, in a very short period of time, you were still a young guy, but you were the guy who really changed the face of ITU racing. Because we see now, back in the day when people tried to move from ITU to longer distance, they didn't have the bike skills. But now everybody who comes out of ITU has that ability to ride the bike hard because they have to.
Yeah, I think one of the interesting things about triathlon as a sport is the dynamics do kind of change, and it's really a young sport. It was in the Olympics for the first time in 2000, and then by 2008 I was there, and now we're in 2024. So that 24 years over the course of a sport. And I know short distance racing happened before then, but really only back as far as 1989. So it's a new sport. It's changed a lot. The dynamics have changed, and I think it wasn't just down to me. I was probably part of a wave of the changing dynamics. Javier Gomez was very much there as well, and racing in that form of, actually now someone like me has been training to be a triathlete since I was 8 years old. And I think I'd like to think I could swim, bike and run. I'd swum with swimmers, done a lot of cycling races, ridden with the local cyclists, ridden road races, crit races, cyclocross races over the years, and being a runner in my own right. So I was just putting all of those together.
So this year, so you went to Singapore, DNF to Singapore, Clash Miami. And if we look back at all the races in these, the PTO, et cetera, that you've led, off the bike. You pretty much every race you're in, you're there leading, and then it's just the heat, injuries, things like that have been an issue over this last few years. Are you feeling like things are coming together, that you're healthy again?
Yeah, at the moment I feel pretty healthy. Yeah, it's been constantly frustrating, really. I definitely can't do the same level of training as I used to be able to do, but I still enjoy racing, competing, and trying to work out, get everything out of myself that I can and race as well as I can, given the constraints I've got, and that's like a new challenge. But yeah, Miami was just crazily hot for me, and that was tough. Singapore was really frustrating because I was in a good position and racing very, very conservatively, and I knew I was in a good place to get around that run. Had ridden conservatively and was feeling good on the first lap of the run. But yeah, now I feel like I'm in a good place, and yeah, I keep getting told this course in San Francisco, the heat is not going to be an issue. So yeah, at least that's something to take away.
Well, yeah, Alcatraz, you guys are jumping in the water at 6 a.m, and that water will probably be, mid 50s Fahrenheit. So you're not going to have an issue with heat there, which is really cool, because that race, and doing an epic race like that, I know you like doing classic races, and there's nothing more classic than Escape from Alcatraz.
It's been on my bucket list for a long time, so I'm very happy I finally get to go. Yeah.
You've been doing a lot of gravel. What are you gaining from that? Obviously, you like doing things that are fun. You go back to fell racing and things like that you grew up doing. What is it about gravel that you're liking? And do you see doing some of the bigger gravel, Unbound, and some of the majors down the line?
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, I just enjoy competing, and I'd love to be competing more at all kinds of different forms of the sport. And gravel is just a great competition outlet for me. It's hard. It's a lot like long distance triathlon in lots of ways, in that it's takes place over a long period of time. I did the big European race a few weeks ago, the Tracker in northern Spain, that was 200 kilometers long and super competitive, and that took like 6.5 hours, and just crazy hard, crazy hard power over long periods of time. So it's like challenge, it's like triathlon, but you've got that competitive element, and at the same time, yeah, you're out in amazing scenery. 1 minute you climb up a mountain, and then you're flying down through a Spanish village, and then climbing up another mountain or whatever. It's really cool. So yeah, I love that exploration. I love pushing myself, and I love the competition. In the future, yeah, I've got loads of my friends. People keep telling me to do Unbound, and it's this weekend coming up, and I was a little bit tempted actually to come to the States a week early and have a go, but I just thought I just haven't quite done. I think 3 or 4. If I could have 3 or 4 weeks into that, had I thought about it a bit earlier, I probably could have had a good run at it actually. And you need to do some specific training for that length of race over 200 miles. And I don't want to go into a 200-mile race without that and be in a lot of trouble over 100 miles in, and then it's a long way home.
So when you made the transition to the longer distance and Ironman and 70.3, what was the toughest part of that adaptation? Was it just being patient and all the nutrition parts of it?
Yeah, well, to be honest, the toughest part for me has been me physiologically, really. I can't do the training, the preparation I did 10 years ago. I think had I had that ability to absorb training and train at that level that I had 10 years ago, that is the challenge effectively. Outside that, yeah, for sure, there's challenges of patience, pacing, nutrition, the courses, the conditions, being in hot races, that kind of thing. Heat over 1 or 2 hours is one thing. Heat over 4 or 8 hours is another thing completely. All those things which are different challenges but are good. But yeah, by far the most significant thing is my ability to train and prepare.
So when I look at, when you won Ironman Sweden and Swansea, the 70.3, you were on a roll. Okay. Forget about the Canadian PT Open, but you were leading at Oceanside. So heading into 2023, you're probably thinking, okay, I feel like I got a handle on this. And were there injuries you were dealing with, surgeries you were dealing with in leading into 2023?
Yeah, it's a constant challenge. To be honest, I can't quite remember what year was what. But yeah, I think yeah, I'd had that injured that year in 22. I think I did Sweden and then had a really bad stress fracture in my hip. Recovered from that in the off season. Came into 2023 recovering from that, and then I think it was the ankle problem coming into next year. Then ultimately I had an operation on it at the back end of or the middle of the summer last year that almost wiped out really most of that season, frustratingly. Yeah.
The rivalry with you and Javier, for I don't know in the history of the triathlon if we've had two guys at the high level. I mean, obviously we had Mark Allen and Dave Scott, but there was something about the number of times you guys raced. Do you have any idea how many times you guys went head to head? No
idea, but a lot. I mean, I remember racing him as far back as in the French Grand Prix in 2006 or 7. I think 7. So yeah, long time. Yeah.
And he was there in the Olympics in 2008, and he was sort of the overwhelming favorite to win. And then Jan Frodeno surprised everybody by winning. You obviously raced Jan a lot. Was he a factor at that ITU racing in terms of winning the race?
To be honest, the factor was Javier Gomez. He was the person I was always trying to beat, and I didn't really look that much far outside then about that. Javier and maybe Johnny if he had a really good day.
Right.
But, no one else really figured in that kind of era. A few years down the line, there was more people who were super competitive. Someone like Mario Mola from Spain, for example.
Right.
I'd think, oh well, if I have to run against him, it could be a bit close. Yeah.
It could be a bit close. The transition when you win a couple of Ironman early on, what did you take away from that? Like you win pretty quickly your first couple of Ironman races. Did you feel like, okay, I feel I got this?
Yeah, I guess. I think sport for me is always a constant learning process on every kind of axis, if you like. I think your body's changing, so you've got to constantly learn how to train with a new engine, a new chassis kind of every year, especially getting a bit older. The competition's changing. Different Ironmans are completely different. The first one I did in Cork didn't have a swim, and the average temperature was, I don't know, about 10 degrees Celsius, and actually it was more about keeping warm. And I even stopped and ate on the run, like Mars bars and stuff, because it was cold. And I was kind of winning by so far. I just want to get around this thing. I mean, and as you know, if you then go to a competitive Ironman that's hot, it's a completely different world. There's no way you're going to walk through aid stations or you've got to keep moving at speed. So it's a very diverse sport. Obviously the competition's different, and you change.
This year is the goal to get back to Kona this year, to focus on T100. What's the main goal?
Yeah, fully focused on the T100. If the opportunity arises to try and qualify for Kona, I will, because I'd love to do that. But yeah, focus is T100.
So there's very few people, a lot of people give back in our sport, but to the level that you and Johnny have with the Brownlee Foundation, the last I heard it was 55,000 kids that you'd put through triathlon. I'm sure it's more now because we haven't chatted in a few months. But how important has that been, and what brought that on?
Yeah, it's been very important since just post London, and what brought it on is getting invited into lots of schools post Olympics, and people telling us that we were inspirational, and we knew the only way we could kind of fulfill that legacy and responsibility was to really build something that could go out there and deliver it, because we couldn't just do it as two people. So we built the foundation first event in 2014, and actually this year in 2024, I was back in the same sports centre in South Leeds where we did our first one 10 years ago, which was really, really cool. This week last week, we had 5 events in different cities and had over 5,000 young people do events with us. And I went to 2 of them, which was absolutely fantastic. And whether it's the smiling kids saying we loved it and can we do it again, and telling me that the swim or the bike was their favorite bit, or the teachers coming up to me completely unprompted and saying, yeah, this is fantastic, it's amazing, these are underprivileged young people and they wouldn't get the opportunity to do anything like this unless you put it on, and a foundation like yours put this on, and getting feedback from them, people saying, well, yeah, they increased the activity in that class for the next year, or so many people went away and joined triathlon clubs or athletic clubs. It's fantastic. It's makes you very proud, but also really shows you how important, actually, as I know you take your work very seriously, how important these charitable philanthropic organizations are, because they fill big gaps that need to be filled, I think, in society.
Again, when you look at these kids, I think there's a thought of triathlon is it's a white collar sport. It's a high end sport, and that's what it is. But I just think that the sport is, you don't need a $10,000 bike to do our sport. You can, kids, it is the ultimate sport for kids, because while you're swimming, you're thinking, I love this. This is great. Oh, I'm tired of this. Oh, I'm riding my bike. Right. I'm sure you were the hyperactive kid, sort of like I was. Like, then you get on your bike and you're riding along and you're going, this is great. Oh, my neck is sore. Oh, I'm running. Oh, my legs feel like crap. Oh, they feel good. I'm done. I got a medal.
Yeah, I was definitely that hyperactive kid, and that's probably what got me into it. Finding ever more extreme sporting activities to use my too much energy up. So I agree with that, and I agree with everything you said. It doesn't have to be that expensive sport with high barriers to entry. And I think more importantly than that, I think triathlon is just a great vessel to get young people the exposure to swimming, cycling, running separately, and triathlon in itself, get them together. But it allows us as a foundation to get young people to a pool, get them to a leisure centre they might not normally visit, show them that there's the facilities there, hopefully go home, tell the parents, I went to this sports centre, I swam there or I ran there, I'd like to go back and do more swimming. I don't know so much what it's like in other countries, but I do know in the UK, for example, there's a crazy number of 11-year-olds coming out of our primary school who can't swim a length. I think even just encouraging young people as a one-off to go to our events and show them where a pool is, and show them it's friendly, show them exercise can be fun, show them they can do it with their friends, show them that it's about participating and fun and not necessarily competition and hard, boring exercise in the gym. I think all of those things are important. And we're very aware that our events are one-off kind of inspirational activities, and really providing follow-on opportunities around those for the passionate to keep on doing and interacting with is the key. But having that kind of shop window, I think, is so important for these young people that wouldn't get to experience all of that otherwise.
You guys have been doing this long enough. Are you seeing some of the kids who started with you early on now just competing at a junior level, or feeling like they want to continue in the sport? Yeah,
we're all kind of inspirational stories of people who did their first ever event, turning up with their school as a 10-year-old to a foundation event somewhere, joining the local tri club, and now doing more of it. It's absolutely fantastic to hear.
That's the best. That is the absolute best. Do you get support from UK Triathlon? It seems like this is such a great feeder program for everything else they're doing.
We're completely privately funded. Johnny and I actually put the money in to fund it to start with, and then since then we've had a combination of some of our sponsors, people like Aldi have been very generous over the years, plus some other commercial partners now, and private individuals that have supported us. As you know, the constant challenge with charity is fundraising. So that's and we do some events as well. Yeah, I could do with some tips off you. You've been incredibly successful at your fundraising activities, and yeah, it's a constant battle, because literally we're very, very lean. Literally every pound that we raise goes into, you know, paying a few people who are employees. We rely a lot on an amazing team of volunteers. Johnny and me and most other people involved are doing it at a completely voluntary level. So yeah, pretty much every pound goes to paying to allow a young person to experience more sport.
I mean, it's what you're doing for the sport, because we've seen I'm not sure how it is in the UK, but in terms of events, because of COVID, a lot of events went away. Participation was at a high in 2012, and I'm sure for you guys as well with the Olympics, and then it's dwindled to a certain degree. So what you're doing is you're bringing new people into the sport who are going to love the sport and make sure the sport continues on. Besides the individual kids, it's a sport itself that benefits from 55, 60,000 new people coming into the sport.
I think so. And I know we've talked about it a lot before, haven't we? Yeah, triathlon, it definitely hasn't grown in the last few years like it had in the decade or decades before that. I think there's lots of reasons for that. I think COVID changed a lot of people's habits, but there's more competition for the extreme sport, whether that's ultra running, ultra cycling,
Yes.
various other things, and that's definitely having an impact. But more than ever, society, I think, is wanting to be active, wanting to remain healthy, kind of preventative health, and wanting to challenge themselves and do challenges and set themselves goals that take them away from their everyday lifestyle routine. And so yeah, there is a massive place for triathlon at every level, whether that these kids doing it, or, as I know you and I have this passion for the local triathlon, where a few people turn up at the local leisure centre and do a race for fun, right up to the big commercial races that have their ultimate place as well in the kind of the hierarchy of kind of different events. But yeah, I think the ecosystem needs all of those. And I know, you kind of think the same as well.
Yeah. When we look at the future for the sport, it's always interesting to me. There's two different type of athletes like a Scott Molina or a Dave Scott. They would be racing forever, right? Mark Allen, as soon as he won in 95 for his 6th Ironman win, dropped the mic, I'm done, never raced again. You seem like the former rather than the latter, that you'll be putting a race number on until your fingers don't work anymore to put that race number on. Right or wrong?
Yeah, almost certainly, yes. In some form. Might not be always triathlon, but yeah, I hope I've got many more races left in me yet. There's so many things. There's obviously been an amazing privilege having a career in professional sport, but at the same time, there's a lot of events out there that I've never had the chance to do. So I'm looking forward to being able to do some of those.
I love it. So you'll be in San Francisco for first time to do Escape from Alcatraz. You jump off a boat. No real swim buoys out there. If you miss the current, you end up miles down the beach. So I'm sure you like that challenge, because it's not that often. The swim, a lot of times, a little cookie cutter. The swim here is a huge part of this race.
Yeah. No, I'm very much looking forward to that. Well, we'll see afterwards, won't we? If I mess the current up, I won't have enjoyed it. But as long as I've got the current right, yeah, I'm planning on probably following someone is my best option here, I think.
I think Ben Canute with 4 wins is not a bad person to follow.
Yeah, I'll be sticking close to him.
I love it. Alistair, it's always such a treat to get to chat with you. Thank you again for taking your time. Next Thursday, we'll be at Purple Patch. It'll be yourself, Ashleigh Gentle, Jan Frodeno. It'll be a really, really fun evening. I think we sold out the 20 bikes that are for people who are going to be there live. And then we have 500 people, hopefully virtually, and another 100 or so who will be hanging out with you and Ashleigh and Jan for a little Q&A after that. So thank you for taking time to do that. And we look forward to seeing you in the race next week, where you don't have to worry about sunscreen. You don't have to worry about how hot it is. You're 6 a.m. in San Francisco. That's Alistair Brownlee weather. That's Leeds weather.
That is Leeds weather. Yeah, absolutely. I was thinking that I was actually riding in the rain yesterday, and it was like 11 degrees Celsius. And I asked my friend to check what the weather was like in San Francisco, and he was like, it's about the same. So
there you go. That'd be perfect.
Yeah.
Great. Alistair, we'll see you next week. Again, Alistair Brownlee has been our guest. This is Breakfast with Bob, our Not Quite Kona edition. We'll catch everybody next time. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. Alistair, you're the best.
Thanks very much. Great to speak to you. Bye-bye.
All right.